McKinnon, MLA for District 15, is also with us this evening. Thank you very much. June Caldwood, who is going to speak to you in a few minutes, is here representing the Harmony Movement, and we have Peter Robertson as a special guest, who is a founding editor of Photosensitive, which was part of the photography group that put this exhibit together for us. This is a big moment for the Race Relations Education Association and for the Harmony Movement. This is the national launch of this photo exhibit that you see here. They're going to follow us in 4 hours in Vancouver with another launch of the identical exhibit, but we get to beat them because of time zone by 4 hours, and so we're very pleased with that. What we'd like to do is keep this very quick and let people enjoy looking at the photos, and we're going to have some coffee, tea, and there will be a bar next door for those that would like something to drink and some sweets. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our local sponsors. The Confederation Center of the Arts has been very wonderful in helping us bring this display to the island and providing space for us and the catering for this evening. So thank you very much. Curtis Barlow, I know, is here somewhere. Thank you for that. We also have another corporate sponsor, which I'm very proud to announce, and they're making it possible for us a spring tour of a smaller photo exhibit that we will be taking across the island in the springtime, and that's Island Tel, who is sponsoring our communications sector of that tour. So we have Bob Kelly and Paul Hastings and Vicki here tonight, and once again, thank you very much for your sponsorship, because you're going to make us able to take this display across the island and let all islanders have a chance to see it. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you Letty LaRosa, who is chair of the Race Relations Education Association. Letty has been chair of the association for 2 years since we became incorporated. We were formerly a committee of the Multicultural Council, and we've been on our own almost for 2 years, and Letty has guided us through that process. And if she'd come forward now, she will introduce our board of directors.
Honor Gilbert Clements, Mr. Dan McKinnon, member of the Legislative Assembly of PEI, Mr. Peter Robertson, founding editor of Photosensitive, Ms. June Caldwood, honorary patron of Harmony Movement, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are deeply honored by your presence tonight for the opening in the birthplace of Canada, the Them Equals Us, photographic journeys across our cultural boundaries, co-hosted by the Race Relation Education, represents the Race Relation Education Association's objectives to promote the understanding. These are our work. And our energetic, dedicated, hard-working education officer, Michelle Liel, who was the force behind all the works in bringing this exhibit to Prince Edward Island, Cheryl Liel. Our organization's specific objectives includes the elimination of racism, promotion of understanding and appreciation of other cultures, and to work with the education system and the community to foster racial harmony and awareness on the island. We thank His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, for being the honorary patron of this event, Harmony Movement, the Island Tel for their financial support. Thank you all.
Thank you, Letty. Now I'd like to call upon honorary patron for the Harmony Movement, Ms. June Caldwood. She is, I'm sure you're all familiar with, an author of many books, a journalist, and an active seeker for human rights across our country. Ms. Caldwood has been a moving force behind this exhibit. She is on the steering committee that planned this exhibit, so please help me in welcoming her.
It's a lucky accident that I happen to be here tonight. I'm giving a speech tomorrow at the Prince Edward Hotel for Learning Link about continuous education. And so they brought me here, and I'm in time for this, the opening of our touring exhibit. We are going to have, this show will be right across Canada in the next 18 months, various times in various locales, but this is the opening night. I'd like to explain that the Harmony movement is the child of a distinguished Canadian, Dr. Joseph Wong, an Order of Canada recipient. I met him when we were on the yes side of the referendum. You were all wrong, vote against us. I think that was the Beach Lake one. Sank like a stone despite everything Joe and I did. But it was his idea that the Chinese Canadian community in Toronto wasn't mixing, he felt. And so he undertook to create for the United Way a parade and a march, a walk for the United Way that would start in the Chinese Canadian community. And it was a huge success, and it did open all kinds of doors that swing both ways. And from that, he decided that he was ready to do to put it in a kind of an organizational form and call it Harmony. And I've been part of that ever since. But Joe never sits still, and as soon as he had done that, he said how Canadians feel about one another, Canadians getting along, as we see daily in our schools, right across the country, and in our workplaces and in recreational centers. Canadians getting along, come from different cultures. And he thought that should be, for the time, frozen by great photographers. And I was on the steering committee because my contribution, they said, was to do the writing. Well, what? Maybe that would be like a few words of introduction, which I don't see around after all the work I did on that. And it's in front of, okay. But filled with energy, as anything that Joseph Wong undertakes to do, it gradually grew and grew. And I found myself writing everyone I knew and a number of distinguished people I didn't know, saying, will you contribute a thought about harmony? And you'll find Timothy Findlay here, and Margaret Atwood, and Nino Ricci, and Pierre Burton, the pillars of the Canadian literary establishment. I think Leslie Joyce from Nova Scotia, but I don't know that there is a writer from PEI, but that's my fault, ran out of steam. And they're mounted among the pictures. If you want to pause and see what writers felt that they could contribute to this exhibit, I'm very moved by what they did. The photography group that we originally contacted is called Photosensitive, and they had mounted two other exhibits that I was part of as it happened. One was an exhibit of photographs that would show hunger, and that seems to me an impossible task. But they did. I said, when I saw the photographs, that I didn't think you could show hunger in a photograph, but you can if you look at people's eyes, you can see hunger. And so they called the exhibit, It's in the eyes?
In their eyes.
It's in their eyes, yeah. And I did some of the little words that were in that exhibit, and then the next one they did was to show how the United Way works. And that was a glorious exhibit of old and young and street people, and magnificently photographed. So the Harmony movement turned to photosensitive, and Peter Robertson is here. The backbone of this show is his group. He's a distinguished, he's dean of photographers. He has been in the business for a very long time and has a marvelous eye, and has pulled together a group that he'll tell you about. And they were augmented because Photosensitive is a Toronto group. We had some awareness of the problems that might create the rest of the country. So it was augmented, and he'll tell you about that. I want you to meet Peter Robertson.
The Harmony movement did contact Photosensitive and asked us, as June says, to think about what we might do to solve their communication problem. Could our group of 15 professional photographers create a message of acceptance of diversity in Canada? Maybe a message that would compel all of us to examine our values as we go about our daily lives, living and working together. And as June says, Photosensitive has tackled several tough assignments. We began as a group in 1990. We began by, as June said, photographing the hungry and the homeless in Toronto in an exhibition called It's in Their Eyes. And our study of Toronto's kids climaxed with an exhibition called Precious Time. And we spent 8 months working with the United Way and indeed with 35 high school students that we mentored to do the same program when we looked at the 350 agencies in the United Way, and we called that show Hand of Hope. Now, each of these shows lent themselves to pretty dramatic photography. The Harmony Movement subject, on the other hand, was a lot tougher. I think, how do you capture an idea on film? Not so easy. It's a message, and I think you can maybe see that around the room. There is no one piece of photography that can define this subject, but together, I think maybe the message is there. Also, we wanted to cover Canada for the first time. We had always done our work in Ontario, and the opportunity to move around the whole country was something that we just relished. But pretty ambitious project, huge undertaking, and who would believe that we could pull it off? Well, as always, Photosensitive turned to our corporate friends at Kodak. They really believed in what we can do, and they supported us from day one. And anybody who's ever tried to do this kind of work knows that you need that initial support. It's only then that other people start to realize that maybe what you're doing is worthwhile and perhaps they should join. Because General Motors, Air Canada, Miranda, the David and Dorothy Lamb Foundation, and the Multiculturalism Group, and indeed the Department of Canadian Heritage gave us some really serious support. We flew around the country courtesy of Air Canada. Many people have worked extremely hard to bring this show off. It's really difficult to do things like this when you are such a large country. The show, in fact, as June said, is opening, I think, in about 2 hours or 3 hours in Vancouver, which is really wonderful. I'm delighted we're here. We're first. I decided this afternoon when I arrived with June that I would drop in just to see if everything was going okay. And of course, what I came into was Cheryl and her group were way ahead of the game. They had this stuff up. It looked wonderful. And everybody seemed delighted. And so I happily went on my way, went back and had a sandwich at the hotel. So I really didn't have to do anything. You've pulled this off wonderfully for us, and we're very grateful. I want to thank all of you, Lottie, La Rosa, and all of you members of the board, for taking us on board. This is a tough subject to bring before the public, and you're not sure what the response will be. I hope it'll be positive. To all the photographers whose vision and harmony you see around this room, I think it's important to realize what they gave to this. They not only gave their time and their creative talent, but a lot of thought went into these pictures. I don't know if you know, but Tom Graff, who's the curator of the show, put it together in Vancouver under extremely difficult conditions. The pictures were being printed in Toronto. He was getting fax copies of them to try to decide how they would be put together. Not just what you see around this room, that it works. Obviously, to the Harmony movement and the project team led by Chuck Kwan and Sharon Ho, who's here tonight. They used to drive her crazy talking about, I need a photographer to go to wherever, and I know I was supposed to give you 3 weeks, and I'm only giving you 3 days, but is it okay? And somehow or other, she'd find a way to do it for us. And that's the kind of commitment that we had, I think. To all our sponsors and to all of you, thank you for bringing us here tonight. There couldn't be a more appropriate place in Canada to open this show. So enjoy it.
Thank you, Mr. Late. Enjoy the photos. If you have someplace you'd like us to bring the photos in the spring, please give us a call. There's brochures around with our number. We'd be more than happy to bring our small display wherever. Thank you very much for coming out. I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you'll tell lots of people to come down and see it. We are having a public discussion focusing on the photos and issues of multiculturalism, diversity on the island in across Canada on Saturday at 1 o'clock here in the lecture theatre. We have 3 wonderful facilitators that will be getting started on that. Mr. Frank Zakup, who is here, so there's Frank, and Noel Anyegba and Jacob Mall will be joining us on Saturday for that public discussion. So please come back again, tell people. The more people that see this, I think the better, because it really speaks to me, as I'm sure it will to a lot of people, about what Canada is all about and what we're trying to accomplish in creating a country and a province that speaks of harmony. So thank you, and we're going to cut the ribbon and enjoy.
You ready? You want another one?
It's my shoulder.
Okay.
We're just busy analyzing it. Let's use this one so everybody can see the flowers and it goes so well with your...
That's so sweet.
There's a,
Well, it's a way to say thank you. All right, my dear.
You can try, Sharon. You're allowed to try. Okay.
Lovely.
sure, there's a card right I think on the corner there.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
right there.
good job I didn't go home when I said I would go home.
I'm glad you did that.
Did a really good job.
We will allow you to go home.
To Cheryl, DL, Club 1864.
The membership.
Nobody is going to allow me anywhere. Thank you. We really appreciate all the work you've done in the past 2 weeks. Thank you.
Not before.